And now let's say hello and good morning to our one and only Tony Grant, who joins us daily to discuss the news you missed while scanning the headlines. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning to you, Odette.
What you got for us this
Well,
morning?
let's start with the Jerusalem Post,
Okay.
which tells us this morning that there's a big arms deal in the works. The Saudis and the United Arab Emirates are to get U.S. bunker buster bombs and cruise missiles in a deal worth $11 billion. So,
should we be worried?
no, ka-ching, ka-ching. It's good for the United States, I think.
Okay,
This is, as military aid to Egypt is being reduced in some circles, according to sources. There's other markets
there are
that
other
are
people
out there
to buy weapons.
Yeah. So
I'm not surprised.
So there's lots of political readings we could give on that arms deal, but the fact that it's happening,
the Saudis, I would guess. Maybe have their own plan to deal with Iran.
Ever mindful of their
West,
neighbors and suspicious of them, but $11 billion, that's a big sum.
I think they can afford it.
I think they can, yeah. Also on the subject of money, the New York Post reports about pizza and the U.S. government. Did pizza end the government shutdown?
I think they're referring to that picture. Yeah, I've seen that picture.
Apparently, Wednesday,
pizza solves everything.
Pizza is a great problem solver.
Right. And what toppings?
Well, I don't know, but there were a substantial amount of toppings that were delivered on the side.
Right.
John Boehner was the one, or his people ordered those pizzas, and about 20 boxes of the stuff, and apparently it helped ease the negotiating process.
Nobody can say no to pizza. They really should have served pizzas in Geneva also, I think.
Yeah, but covering it up in case there were any caricatures of people with the parts exposed. But we won't go there. Der Spiegel.
Yeah.
Der Spiegel from Germany has a more serious take on the government shutdown in the U.S., of course, now, which has ended. But they still come out and say, system failure, U.S. democracy is nearing its limits. And this is kind of the view from abroad. Our American allies, such as Germany and France, have looked at the whole government shutdown situation with concern and alarm, saying it's time to get mature about how you conduct your governmental
the U.S.
affairs.
has come across very poorly, I'd say,
Unfortunately,
in the international.
And it's a very interesting commentary that the very prestigious Der Spiegel has written.
So what do they think? Can you break it down for us? How do you think this will actually affect the way foreign governments deal with the U.S.?
Well, I mean, the governments are going to be dealing with the U.S. government pretty much in the same way, but with perhaps more skepticism. The article says that the U.S. system of government is designed for checks and balances, but not checks and boycotts.
Right.
It's just not fluid enough to handle. And look at what happens; things freeze when there's this confrontation. They kind of blame the Tea Party. They're Germany being more socialist. They don't understand the problem that with the Obamacare thing, and it's kind of like the older cousin saying we're.
Do you understand the problem? Because I have to say that in recent days it's become more and more problematic to understand the points that the Republicans were trying to convey, but this is just maybe me.
Well, if you speak to many physicians, my father is one. The doctors have mixed feelings about the socialization of healthcare.
That's actually an interesting point.
It's about being able to choose your doctor, not being able to. The way American healthcare has always been about more independently minded than, say, in France or Israel, for example. So it's controversial, to say the least.
Well, luckily the shutdown is behind us, so let's move on to
something a little bit more topical in this part of the world. Today's Zaman, which is a Turkish paper, has a headline there, Turkey rejects claims over spy chief as black propaganda. Now, what is this about? This is the other day, Washington Post columnist David Ignatius wrote a column in which he claimed that...
we've talked about this
extensively, that Ankara blew the cover on a group of Israeli spies. Well, the Turks have rejected this. They're saying that it's...
that's the only thing that they've said so far.
Well, they also, one of the Turkish Prime Minister's advisors tweeted that the article was incoherent. And I have to say, I read the original article, which interestingly was in the opinion section of the Washington Post, not reported as news. And actually, so you can't really call it reporting. David Ignatius, who's a well-regarded figure, but it's his it was in the opinion section, and a lot of the sequential things didn't really check out completely. And it seems like it was published for a reason, and there's different theories about that.
That's interesting, because our security expert, Yossi Melman, seemed to believe the report. He took it as an accurate report, but let's leave it to
it's safe to say that it's semi-accurate, but when you're talking about the cloak and dagger world of intelligence agencies, there's reasons and there's back reasons.
Right.
And so
often
who knows?
What we don't know is much more important than what we do know. Let's move on to your
also
next
in
thing.
Turkey.
Yeah.
Hurriyet, which is a major is a Turkish newspaper, reports that the Turkish public broadcaster, TRT, is investigating employees for their support of the Gezi protests earlier this year.
Is this a government-controlled channel?
It is. It's a state-run TV channel, and they're investigating 15 employees because they allegedly supported the protesters on social media. And they say that they committed a crime under the cover of expressing their thoughts and will likely be fired.
That's unfortunate. That doesn't sound very
not very freedom of the press oriented, but such
Turkey. The law in Turkey allows such a thing to happen. Can you be fired for voicing your opinion?
Probably yes. I mean, they're allowed to do the investigation. The employees are probably allowed to counter those accusations because it will play itself out. But interesting.
All right.
To see.
What's your last item for this morning?
Outer space. In outer space news,
no one can hear you speak.
But they can hear you reach for a meteorite at the bottom of a Russian lake. Fox News actually reported that the Russians have managed to pull a huge meteorite out of a lake. This was the Chelyabinsk meteorite.
We've all seen the footage of it falling.
Spectacular. And they pulled this thing out of the water, and they actually broke it into 3 pieces by accident. So, the meteorite kind of fell apart.
All right. Even meteorites fall apart
They
sometime.
do, but it's interesting to look at.
Well, it's the footage was amazing. I'm sure that they'll break it apart even more, and everybody will take home a little piece of meteorite. Maybe it's Superman's
maybe it's kryptonite
to Earth. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
After